Alright, so what's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today we are going to be reviewing Season 1 of Vanguard and Warzone. Now I've been doing this since around about the end of Modern Warfare 2019 and it is basically tradition at this point for every season that comes out. Whenever we get to the end of it, I always do a sort of like summary review for the season. And this is going to be our first one for Vanguard. So as usual, this video is going to be a longer one as there is always a lot to talk about with these types of videos. So if you are new around here and you enjoy my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video if you enjoy it, and with all that out of the way, let's get right into the multiplayer. So the new content that we got for the multiplayer this season, or I suppose the important content we got this season, we got two new maps in the form of Paradise and Radar. Obviously Radar is the Dome remake. We got the Cooper Carbine assault rifle, the Grenko anti-tank sniper rifle, and the Welgun SMG. We got a brand new game mode in the form of Control. We got the Serpentine and Intuition perks. And finally, we got the Incendiary Grenade Lethal. Now, I just want to take a moment before we get into my thoughts and opinions on all this content. If you've watched my previous season reviews on any Cold War or Modern Warfare, you'd probably know that I go through the roadmaps of the season initial roadmap and the season 1 reloaded roadmap, for example, and I'll get all the information on, let's say, the multiplayer from there, including game modes, bundles, melee weapons. But this season, not only is it a lot harder to find the content, they released a season 1 roadmap, but then they didn't do one for reloaded. But alongside that, I've also decided to cut down on the amount of content I talk about in these videos because, let's be honest, nobody really cares that much about operators or melee weapons, and if you do, sorry, but I don't think it really qualifies as content when they copy and paste the exact same weapon with a new skin on. I don't care that much, and with operators, it's not new content, it's new bundles. But regardless, with that out of the way, let's talk about my thoughts on Season 1 of multiplayer. Now, to be honest, you'll probably know that I wasn't entirely interested in Vanguard throughout Season 1. I do think that Vanguard is a good game, but I just feel like the content that we got felt very sort of limited. For example, we only got 2 66 maps, or I suppose standard multiplayer maps now, which is not a terrible amount, but it also didn't feel like it was being refreshed. You know, the roster of maps didn't really feel new, especially considering they are two very sort of similar aesthetic maps. So it just sort of, it didn't feel like there was anything added to the game, if that makes sense. It always felt like these maps were here. But I will say Radar plays really well. I'm just going to call it Dome from now on. Dome plays really well in this game, and I do really enjoy playing it. So that was a great addition, and I appreciate a Dome remaster, finally. It's been so many years. I think there actually was one in Ghosts, but like, who cares that much about Ghosts? Come on. In terms of the weapons this season, Cooper Carbine, Grenko anti-tank, and the Welgun, I've only properly used the Cooper Carbine. I've got that gold now on my atomic grind. The Grenko anti-tank rifle I know is a very solid weapon. I've watched Jeff use it, and it looks like a very solid weapon, which I'm happy about. It's a PTRS, if you guys didn't know. And the Welgun, I know, is also a pretty decent weapon. I don't know if it's OP or, you know, just whatever, but it seems like a very solid weapon. So, you know, all good additions all round. However, I'm going to say the same thing I do for every game since Modern Warfare. I hope every season we don't just get new assault rifles and SMGs. I said the exact same thing for the Season 1 review of Black Ops Cold War, and it's exactly what happened throughout the entire year. Every single season, we got one new SMG, one new assault rifle. They're all just, you know, generically the same. There wasn't really anything interesting about them. I want to see more variation in the DLC weapons. I want to see, you know, sniper rifles, LMGs, shotguns, launchers, pistols. You know, I don't want to see 7 assault rifles, 7 SMGs, and like 1 DLC sniper. You know, what's the point? It just makes it so bland, especially when every single one is a full auto. They just have like, I don't know, slightly more recoil and slightly less ammo or something like that. It's just like, it's just boring, to be honest. But regardless, we're going to move on now to Control. I hate this mode. It's a Black Ops 4 mode. I never want to play it again. Serpentine and Intuition are very interesting, because these are the first DLC perks we've ever had, Warzone aside. And I haven't used Intuition, but I have used Serpentine. I used it for a brief amount of time, and to be honest, I didn't really notice the difference. If you guys don't know what it does, it says incoming damage reduced while sprinting. And although it sounds broken, I used it for a good amount of time. It didn't really feel like it was doing anything, so I took it off, and now I use Cold-Blooded. Intuition is a intel-based perk. Basically, when there's somebody near you, your vision will pulse, sort of like high alert. And I haven't used this perk, but I haven't seen people bitch and moan on Reddit about either of them, so I'm assuming they're not that broken. And finally, the incendiary grenade is the most cancerous thing I've ever seen in a Call of Duty game. It's pretty much a thermite crossed with a Molotov crossed with a smoke grenade, all in one lethal that people just lob about in Das House and shipments. It just makes the game cancerous to play. And I'm not sure why Sledgehammer decided to be Pyromaniacs this year, but it's really fucking frustrating, especially when playing Das House and all you can see everywhere is fire and smoke. It's just really fucking weird, but regardless, that's pretty much all the multiplayer content. Now, I know this is a Season 1 review, not a Vanguard review. However, I do think Vanguard is a pretty good game. I think people are very harsh when it comes to the game. However, I do see why people complain about it. It can be a bit sort of repetitive, and it doesn't really feel like there's much incentive to play the game beyond Atomic. I don't know if that's just me, you know, playing this franchise for over a decade and doing the exact same thing for a decade, so I've only resorted to camos now or what, but it doesn't really feel like there's much incentive to play beyond going for the Mastery camo. Once I've done that, I don't really know what else I'm going to do after that. I probably won't even play the game besides content like I did with Black Ops Cold War, so I'm not sure, but I do think this is a very good game. I think it is solid. It just has quite a lot of issues, mainly with bugs and stuff like that, that just sort of gets in the way of it being a good game. And I feel like I say this every year, to be honest. But anyway, we're going to get into the fun part of the review now. Vanguard Zombies. This is a very interesting one. So I was contemplating not even putting Vanguard Zombies in this review just because it's such an embarrassment this year, I swear to God. But there is some stuff that I want to talk about that was Season 1 exclusive, not just to do with the Vanguard Zombies, but we got two main things in this season that I think are worth talking about today. The first one is round-based Shino Numa objective. This was an objective in Durham Fang where you go to Shino Numa, you're not allowed outside the main building, and it's pretty much survival. The standard way that zombies should work in the objective in Durham Fang. It's an embarrassing joke. It's an excuse, you know, it's just awful. It just really is awful. The first thing I'm going to say, which is probably going to piss a lot of people watching this off, is I personally haven't played it. Now, I know, if I haven't played it, how the hell can I sit here and bitch and moan about it? And you know what? That's a fair point. So if you want to just disregard everything I say from here on out, that's fair enough. But at least hear me out. I've heard from a lot of people who have played this mode and who are actually invested in the additions to Zombies, and I've heard nothing but bad things. It's nothing like classic Zombies, and it's just they tried to get away with the bare minimum to sort of please the community. They knew that round base is what we wanted, and they just got away with the bare minimum of putting it in the game, and fans have called them out on their bullshit, and they've said this isn't right, this isn't what we wanted, and you know what, we're not going to buy your game for it. And obviously the sales are down. I'd say Vanguard Zombies is a big part of that, and that's why I can sit here and say it's bad, because big Zombies YouTubers like, you know, Tim Hansen, Mr. Roffles, Noah J, they aren't playing it. They don't care about it. So I don't see how anyone could sit here and defend this edition. Like, oh yeah, it's for the fans. They added round base. You got what you wanted. It's not. We want a round-based mode, not an objective in Durham Fang. We don't want Durham Fang or anything to do with it. And at this point, they just need to give up on the Vanguard Zombies. But the second part is Pack-a-Punch camos. This was actually something that they thought was like, oh, don't worry guys, we've got your backs, we're adding Pack-a-Punch camos. This is a staple of Call of Duty Zombies. It really is. And the fact that it's they expect us to sit here and praise them because they added a few camos, like, it's just one of those things that proves that Zombies recently has really lost its soul. And I want to make a separate video on that topic of Tryout Zombies losing its soul. But that's a main part of it, is they couldn't even be bothered to add Pack-a-Punch camos for the launch. And then 3 months down the line, they add it and they're like, oh, don't worry guys, you know, oh, we've got this. But I don't know. I just really don't know. But regardless, that's Zombies done. I'm going to make a separate video about it and probably never talk about it again because I just don't care about it anymore. But anyway, this is going to be, I reckon, the meat and potatoes of this video. This is where most of the content for this season went, and that is Warzone. This, the Season 1 of every Call of Duty game is pretty much Warzone focused. They had a brand new map. They integrate it into the game. Pretty much all of the content that, say, Sledgehammer or Treyarch add into their Season 1, is primarily focused on driving Warzone and integrating into Warzone and all that stuff. So yeah, but anyway, all the new stuff they added for Warzone this season is Caldera, the brand new Warzone map, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. They added the brand new Gulag, all of the Vanguard weapons, which I think is around about 40 plus, I think it's like 41 or 42. They added 2 new modes, Vanguard Resurgence and Vanguard Royale. They added new vehicles in the form of planes, squad car, and the truck. And they did add some other changes as well, like say I think they removed stopping power from the game. They did the whole loadout thing where you couldn't buy it until the free one comes in, but then they reverted that. There was a lot more change than what I'm mentioning here, but this is all the big stuff. This is all the fresh, brand new content instead of changes, so that's what we're going to mainly focus on for today. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is Caldera. How are people finding Caldera? Now, I haven't played too much of the new map. I played a few games when it first dropped. I played a few games recently for a video, which I'm not sure if I'm going to upload or not, but I have played a fair decent amount of Caldera, and to me, it doesn't seem that bad. I'm not sure if I prefer Verdansk or Caldera. To be honest, I don't play Warzone that much, so I'm not really ready to sort of formulate my opinion yet. However, I will say this, and it is something that I mentioned in that Warzone video that I talked about earlier, if I ever do upload that, but it feels like it's a lot easier to sort of get lost in Caldera. I don't know how to sort of explain it. Like with Verdansk, if you landed somewhere, you'd always, for me, it always felt like it would be easier to sort of navigate the map and go places. You know where people are. But with Caldera, you sort of like, you have the peak where, you know, lots of people land. But other than that, most of it is just like empty fields with like a few houses here and there. It doesn't really feel like there are like proper POIs. It just feels like a very empty map with a few houses scattered about. It doesn't really feel like there are actual points of interest. It just feels like there are named locations. And I'm willing to bet that is because I don't play the game. Obviously, I don't play the game that much, so how am I going to know where people land, where people, you know, mainly go? I'm willing to concede on that, but even so, I don't know. It just feels like it's a lot harder to sort of find people in that mode. I've spent a lot of time on Caldera, the very little time that I have, just running around trying to find people, and it can prove difficult, especially when most of the map is just empty fields. That's my next complaint about Caldera, is that it feels a lot more empty compared to Verdansk. Verdansk did have empty spots. I'm not saying that it didn't. You know, it had empty fields and like bits of road and stuff like that you could easily get like sniped from like 20 different directions. But Caldera just feels like it's mainly empty fields with bushes and lots of palm trees to sort of act as cover, quote unquote. But it feels like if you navigate these areas, it's a lot easier to sort of get domed and shit on by people who just sort of hide in certain places or have higher points of advantage compared to Verdansk. It just feels like, I'm not sure how to describe it. The map feels a lot more empty, you know what I mean? It feels like a really empty map, and it's not a good feeling. This sort of goes back to earlier when I was like, I was playing Caldera and I was trying to run around and find people, but I was just running around empty fields. I didn't know where to go. You know, it's not like I could even hear gunfire to go towards. It just feels like an empty map, and once again, that might be my fault because I don't play the game much. I don't watch much on Caldera, so I don't know the strategies and the play styles to go for. But at the same time, that's also not really an excuse, considering I might not be the only new person. Like, somebody might have picked up Warzone yesterday, and they have the exact same issue that I do, because I don't play the map much. How are they going to know? How are they going to improve? Like, we're at the point now in Call of Duty where the only way you can improve is by watching, like, top-tier streamers who play the game every day. I must say, though, the visuals of Caldera are phenomenal. It looks 10 times better compared to Verdansk, and it is a lot more refreshing to be able to play in a, you know, just environmentally rich area compared to sort of like a grey sort of city. Yeah, I do probably prefer the gameplay of Verdansk, but visually and just the feel of Caldera is just so much better. I just wish the gameplay was a bit better, you know, as it is. The Gulag this season, I have to say, is very, very good. It's very reminiscent of the original Gulag for me, where it actually is cut down the middle, symmetrical. It's pretty much perfect in my opinion. The same way the old Gulag sort of had the same feeling and it evoked the same nature as the Verdansk map, this one has the exact same thing, like where it feels like it's in Caldera. This new Gulag is the exact same. Not only is it, you know, properly well balanced in terms of the layout, it's also aesthetically and sort of atmospherically the same as Caldera, which is a very good feeling. All the Vanguard weapons were added into Warzone, obviously, with the integration, and it went much smoother than Cold War. I remember the DMR meta, the AUG FFAR meta, the amount of attachment changes there were throughout the entire life cycle of Cold War, and maybe even to this day, I'm not too sure, but it just feels like the whole integration with Vanguard was so much smoother. The meta is in a very healthy state, and we're in Season 1. If you think to this time last year when we had, I think it probably would have been Season 2 by now of Cold War, it was in a complete worse state, and I just think the integration went a lot better. The Brennan MP40, I think, are the only two outliers when it comes to the meta. I know the AS44 is a really good time to kill, but I think it's properly well balanced. It just feels like everything is a lot more well balanced, and not only that, it doesn't feel like the Vanguard weapons outshine the older weapons. Like, yeah, sure, people are probably going to use the new stuff a bit more, but for me personally, I prefer using the Cold War and Warzone weapon, Modern Warfare weapons, sorry. Even though the Vanguard weapons still feel good, I prefer using Modern Warfare and Cold War weapons, and it just feels like you still can compete with those, which is a great feeling. Vanguard Resurgence sounds like something I can get behind, because obviously I prefer Rebirth a lot more to standard Battle Royale. But I haven't had the opportunity to play that much, because me and my friends don't really play that often. But it does seem like a very solid game mode. Vanguard Royale, once again, seems like pretty good. It got rid of a few things, like, say, heartbeat sensor. I know that's the main one. It was just like Vanguard weapons only, and it had planes and stuff in. I think that was the first thing that me and my friends played when it first dropped, and it was pretty good, that's all I have to say. Planes, squad car, and truck, I mean, it's new cars, so, like, it's not really much to talk about. And the smaller gameplay changes, like the loadout change and the stopping power, I feel like it was a good step in the right direction. Like, removing stopping power, which I just mentioned, was a great thing. I think they reduced the rates of dead silence dropping as well, but there is still more improvement to do. Like, they need to nerf ghosts, they need to nerf the heartbeat sensor properly, they need to nerf stuns. Did I say buff battle hardened? If I didn't, reiterate it. Buff battle hardened. They need to add more Warzone exclusive perks like they did in Season 5 of Cold War. Tempered and Combat Scout are really good ideas, and not only does it directly compete with things like Amped and Ghost and Overkill, but it adds more variety, and it makes the game feel more unique as well, which is just a positive thing all around. I think they need to focus more on perks throughout the next, I don't know, until Warzone 2 anyway. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. Those are all my opinions on Season 1 of Vanguard and Warzone. If I have to give it a score, which I usually do, I'm going to give this season a 6 out of 10. I think 6 out of 10 is very fair. It's pretty much down the road, down the middle of the road. It's, you know, it's an alright season, but it didn't have too many negative things, so I can bump it up to a 6. It's not like an amazing season. It didn't have me invested throughout the whole 2 months, but it didn't have too many bad things either. It didn't really have any bad things. It was just sort of more of a lack of good things, I would say. So that's my opinions on Season 1. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. So thank you guys for watching. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you are new around here. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.